As they go to a fifth set in Paris, we are going to break away and bring you today's news and weather. Apologies if you were looking forward to that. We'll keep you posted on the score, though, during this newscast. Right now, let's get started with First at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jason Colthorpe. Karen's off today. First at 4, the entire state still in shock over an alleged plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Also, the legal system is going to work to prosecute the men charged in that elaborate scheme. One of the men faced a judge via Zoom today. 38-year-old Sean Fix of Belleville is being held at the Antrim County Jail on charges of providing support for terrorist acts and carrying a gun during the commission of a felony. Fix pleaded not guilty today. The judge set bond at $250,000. Overall, 13 men face various charges in the conspiracy to kidnap the governor or overthrow the state government. Prosecutors say the attack was supposed to happen this month at Whitmer's vacation home. Court documents allege the plot began during the March coronavirus lockdown. More than 200 state and federal agents have been involved in monitoring these suspects. Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist calls the plot unnerving for Michigan lawmakers. He says this sheds new light on the fact that weapons are allowed inside the state capitol. This morning he told Local 4 he's frustrated nothing's being done about that.
There is a state capitol commission that has frankly shirked its responsibilities to be able to ban these guns to create public safety. But the legislature is run by the Republicans. They can pass legislation to ban guns, and they have chosen not to do so, even though the only reason you bring a semi-automatic weapon into the Michigan Capitol is to intimidate lawmakers.
We have reached out to Republican leaders to see if their views on this have changed. We'll keep you posted on what we hear back. The Local 4 defenders are digging into the backgrounds of the suspects in this plot and trying to learn more about how we got to this point. Here's defender Sean Lay.
Well, good afternoon from Orion Township. We continue to check address after address to try to learn more about suspect after suspect tied to this incredible, mind-blowing alleged plot to actually kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. What brought us here? A dirt road in Orion Township. Doesn't get any more quiet than this. Well, new video showing an armored vehicle and SUVs. The FBI rolling in just 2 nights ago to raid the home of Danny Harris, a young man with a wife and kids now charged in this alleged plot. One person here saying they're certainly glad that the governor is safe, saying no one liked the lockdown, but to go to these extremes these men are charged with, the question is why? And we continue to try to answer that question as well. Much more coming up live at 5 o'clock and 6 on Local 4.
All right, Sean. There's much more to come as our coverage continues on this. New at 5, Hank Winchester takes a closer look at the group known as the Wolverine Watchmen. Plus, you can review much more about the alleged plot, the timeline, and where the investigation stands on our website, clickondetroit.com. Governor Whitmer did not have the power to unilaterally dictate COVID restrictions. Now the Department of Health and Human Services has issued new regulations mirroring the governor's previous orders. The new order is in effect until October 30th. New at 5, we'll look at what that means. Meantime, new cases of COVID are still hovering at about 1,000, with nearly 1,100 in the past 24 hours. Also, 7 additional deaths have been reported. Warren police are talking with a person of interest in the murder of a 6-year-old boy and a woman. Investigators say they raided a home in Bloomfield Hills this morning. It comes as police have been working to find out who killed 6-year-old Tyrese Moore and Isis Rimson at a home in Warren last week. Right now, no one is under arrest in that case. We have a crew following this investigation, and we'll have more on the raid and where things stand with this case tonight at 5. West Bloomfield neighbors wake up to lights and sirens as police respond to a break-in and a shooting at a rapper's home. This happened on Janet Drive. Police say 3 men broke into a home and shot a 34-year-old man. Sources telling us the man is known as rapper Mr. Magnificent. This morning, he posted on social media that he'd been shot. Police say firefighters took Magnificent to the hospital. No word on his condition. Police, though, are still looking for suspects. Hurricane Delta is already having an impact on the Gulf Coast hours before landfall now. This is video from Dauphin Island in Alabama. The storm's path is very similar to Hurricane Laura 6 weeks ago. It's expected to make landfall in Louisiana, which is west of Alabama. Delta is a large hurricane about to batter a region that's already suffered a lot. Let's go to Ben Bailey for more on this and the timing of the landfall and how strong Delta is looking to be, Ben.
Yeah, Jason, the good news is this storm is weakening just a little bit. It is still going to be 100-mile-per-hour plus winds when it makes landfall. Storm surge is still going to be a problem, but it's probably going to be less than major hurricane strength when it finally comes ashore. You're looking at the radar, and by the way, the Lake Charles radar got blown out by Laura 2 months ago, hasn't been replaced. So this is the Houston radar that's shooting out to the east. You can see the eye wall now just starting to make its way a little bit closer to the shore. 105-mile-per-hour winds, Category 2 storm. So this is going to crawl onto the Louisiana coastline here probably within the next few hours. And then it's going to weaken considerably and quick as it moves inland, likely a tropical storm by late tonight before it starts moving a little bit further to the north. Now, as far as our weather is concerned, much warmer tomorrow at 76, and then we cool down a little bit on Sunday. We're going to get some clouds from Delta. We'll talk about where that moisture goes and whether it's going to impact our forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Jason?
All right, Ben, one last great weekend. Enjoy it. It's been 1 week since President Donald Trump told the world he tested positive for COVID-19. It's also been a busy week with battles over COVID relief, presidential debates, and now House Speaker Nancy Pelosi talking about what to do if any president can't fulfill the duties of the office. There's a lot to sort through here. Here's Local 4's Kimberly Gill.
Hi there, Jason. Good afternoon to you. The biggest headline is probably that President Trump wants to be back on the campaign trail as soon as tomorrow. He says he's hoping to put together a rally in Florida. The White House doctor says he should be cleared to make that trip. Critics question whether that's too soon, and there are concerns about whether the president has actually tested negative for the virus. Future presidential debates remain in doubt. The Commission on Presidential Debates wanted a virtual event next week. The president rejected that idea, though. Now it looks as if there might be another debate on October 22nd as previously scheduled if both candidates are able to make it. Today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi introduced legislation to create a commission on presidential capacity under the 25th Amendment. Questions have been raised about the president's capacity while on a powerful steroid, but Pelosi says the concerns go beyond the current president.
We could have done this a while back, but the timing is for now because people want to know. We have to give some comfort to people that there is a way to do this. Very respectful of not making a judgment on the basis of a comment or behavior that we don't like.
If passed, a commission of former executive officials and top medical experts would be created to help ensure effective and uninterrupted leadership in the office of the president. We'll keep you posted on all of this. And Jason, we'll also have more from Washington coming up on the News at 5. Until then, we'll send it back to you.
All right, look forward to it. We'll see you then, Kim.
Sure.
Before we go to break here, we promised to keep you updated on tennis, and we shall. Tsitsipas is up 1 game in the 5th. As that moves forward, we'll keep the score coming to you. Still to come on this newscast, fighting a COVID cluster. Health authorities are trying something new to stop the spread in bars and nightclubs. Also, a popular retailer is gambling that people who make more money still want to save money. We'll talk about a new shopping experiment, but first, Bill Cosby heading back to court. He's arguing the judge in his trial made 2 mistakes that might set him free. We'll explain right after the break.